We are live. Welcome to WFS Live, guys. Another great episode today. My name is Jared, and we have another 3 films to review for you today. If you're joining us today, this is Wedding Film Schol Live. This is the only, as far as I know, the only weekly live film critique that we do on the internet, I think, for wedding films. We are coming to you live from our office here in outside of Boston, Massachusetts. It's going to be myself, as well as my business partner and friend, Jason McCutcheon, as well. Jason, you on the line here as well? Can you hear me okay? Do we have
You sound amazing.
Technical difficulties this time around?
I don't think so. Can everyone hear us? I mean,
our intros, I think, are usually pretty weak. Usually we trip up a little bit.
we're in the same building too, and then we still can't even pull off a live.
I know. It's just, well, it's just a mess. I mean, doing live streams is harder than wedding films, I think. That's why I let you do it, to be honest. And
That's why
Fallout guy.
I have my holiday iced coffee beverage.
Oh, nice. See,
If you're not from New England and you don't understand, then you don't understand Dunkin' Donuts, really, which in New England, which is like Massachusetts area where we live, there is quite literally 5 Dunkin' Donuts within a mile of us. So
yeah, we have one in our plaza. So we are here, and we have one we can walk to if we want, which is
what I
dangerous.
did right before this.
Yeah. So how is everyone doing, by the way? I know we're kind of getting to the end of the wedding season. People's backlogs are probably insane right now, but are you guys feeling a crazy rush? We
had a question in that said, what is 15 years, like basically they're saying, how many weddings do you guys have? What's in your backlog? So I'd love to know in the comments how many weddings are left from 2021 in your backlog. How you doing? Are you drowning? How you doing with all that, guys?
And you said we only have 15, is that right?
Maybe less, because some of them aren't completed.
Wow.
We might actually have 8.
That's crazy. Actually.
Yeah.
So
pretty good.
Last year, I think we had all of our films delivered by was it like mid-February, somewhere around there?
We're way better this year.
Year, we're actually going to deliver probably by the holidays this year.
No, we'll have a few by beginning of January.
Yeah, but mostly those are going to be ones that we film in December, and people are crazy if they think we're going to turn around in just a couple weeks. So.
Yeah. So what are we doing here today?
Yeah, so we, like I said, we have 3 films that we're going to be reviewing, unless you're going to throw in a fourth surprise one, Jay, which you're sometimes known to do. But we are going to be reviewing 3 different films. And typically what we do here is we are going through, the creative style. We're going through mistakes. A lot of people that submit here are beginners. So we obviously take our critique down to, the level of the filmmaker and what they're trying to do. We also have some filmmakers every once in a while that submit that are pretty seasoned and are looking for a little bit more harsh critique for their price point. So,
yeah, the basic methodology is we want to help you level up. So whatever is going to help you go to that next level, that's kind of our goal. It's not so much that we are the experts who know every little thing about wedding filmmaking. We do have experience, a lot of experience. So we know, hey, different people have different next steps. So if you're listening to this and you're like, they're totally wrong, drop your feedback down in the chat and we can talk about your opinion. And then, of course, take everything with a grain of salt. You're the artist. You decide, you do what you think is right. We really believe that. We're just giving our opinion. So.
Yep. So before we do get started, what I would say, guys, is if you like this stream, if you like this channel, and you're in here, give this stream a thumbs up in YouTube. That really helps the algorithm go a long way, and all the YouTubey things that make sure that other people are able to tune in and check us out, and it goes to the top of other people's feeds. So that helps us out a lot, guys. I always like to remind people because I oftentimes forget, even when I'm watching someone else's stream. So.
Oh yeah, and I was gonna say, people are saying 10 is a lot for us. We were saying 10 like, oh, great, only 10.
10 is a lot. I mean, so to give people a little bit of a background of the business that Jay and I run together, we have a studio. So it's about 6 full-time employees that are, including Jay and myself, that are on the team. So we do a lot of weddings. And I think what we try to do that's a little bit different than maybe other companies that do a lot more volume is we do try to bring a level of quality that I really haven't seen other, volume companies do. But we did 230 weddings this last year. And I don't say that to brag, just to say, like, we have a lot of experience doing this. We have a lot of good sense of, we've seen a lot of different couples come through the door, a lot of different filmmakers. We've worked with a lot of different types of people. So, I think as far as giving qualifications, that's what I think qualifies us a little bit, to have a little bit insight into other people's films.
We watch
10 weddings
a
for
lot
us
of
is
wedding
like-
films.
Yeah, we watch it, and then we do this weekly. So we see a lot of wedding
Where do
films
we have the
going out
time?
door. Well, we have a good staff, I would say. Really, really talented people.
Yes,
and,
that's true.
that help us. So, yeah. that's
So, let's look at who we are watching their films. And you know what, Purnell, I'm going to try to get to yours. I totally did forget about that, but we'll jam in one extra film. We'll do Purnell later.
He's in the house.
It's his second wedding film, and I do want to check it out.
Cool.
For him. So, why don't who is our first victim today, Jared?
Okay, first victim, I believe, if I'm reading
It's top to
form
bottom.
right. Okay, so it's going to be Joel and Courtney Films. Let's see what they wrote in terms of notes. They said, tell us about the film. We really appreciate your feedback and learn heaps just from watching your film reviews. Updated the video link so this one can be downloaded. The ceremony lighting was a bit tricky for this one. Also, it was a pretty tight space. I also wish I had moved the parents of the bride over a little for the first look so it wasn't so backlit. Shot on Fujifilm X-T4s and X-T3s. Thanks so much. That's great because we also shoot on Fujifilm X-T4s. So
Enjoy your shattered highlights.
Yes.
Every wedding.
We feel your pain. Let's hop into the film and then we'll do a critique towards the end.
All right. Let's make sure I actually clicked on the right film, though. That would be a really good idea.
Well, it'd be like a classic thing that we like to do. So
This is it. I think this is it.
perfect.
I think. Here we go. If you're in the chat, by the way, say hi because we like to interact.
Nicole, it's hard to put into words how much you mean to me. You are the most beautiful, caring, and loving person I know. You make me feel so loved and allow me to be exactly who I am.
Matthew, my love, you are the man of my dreams, the love of my life, and I'm so excited to be able to call you my husband. You have made me so happy, and every day I'm so thankful for the life we share together.
I think if you're not shooting Fuji, which I'm not recommending or not recommending, but you won't really appreciate how easy it is to get great skin tones. And I love their skin tones in this film.
I mean, it looks great.
It looks awesome.
Our dearest Nicole, it was 10 years ago that Matt invited you to a particular birthday party. It was on that night that you and Matt, I think it was sort of like your first date. Little did we know that 10 years ago that on this day you would be sharing such a wonderful day together.
Matt, I'm sure you can agree with me. Being loved by Nicole is the best thing in the world. She is fiercely loyal and has the biggest heart. These are qualities I see in you also, Matt, which make you both such incredible.
Jared, I think we can make a montage called Fiercely Loyal, Biggest Heart of every single speech where the person said they were fiercely loyal with the biggest heart. It's like one of the lines. I'm wondering what's going on with the audio in this one. So if you're in the chat, prime that answer because I'm going to ask you about the audio situation.
Well, partners, companions, and friends.
But I've known this guy for a long time now. And I just want to say, Matt, you've always been part of our family, but now it's official. You're my son-in-law.
This is a great sectional. She's like crying, and Dad's crying.
Jay, they can't see the video.
Weird. Oh,
It's just because you have it on us.
I screwed it up. This is the worst live stream ever, guys. I'll do the whole thing over. Hopefully you enjoyed us watching that. Thanks for watching the chat, Jared.
What screen are you looking at?
I have the one so that you can have it.
Oh, okay.
This is great skin tones, as we told you, so get ready.
It's hard to put into words how much you mean to me. You are the most beautiful, caring, and loving person I know. You make me feel so loved and allow me to be exactly who I am.
Matthew, my love, you are the man of my dreams, the love of my life, and I'm so excited to be able to call you my husband. You have made me so happy, and every day I'm so thankful for the life we share together.
Our dearest Nicole, it was 10 years ago that Matt invited you to a particular birthday party. It was on that night that you and Matt, I think it was sort of like your first date. Little did we know that 10 years ago that on this day you would be sharing such a wonderful day together.
Ugh, it looks so good.
Matt, I'm sure you can agree with me. Being loved by Nicole is the best thing in the world. She is fiercely loyal and has the biggest heart. These are qualities I see in you also, Matt, which make you both such incredible partners, companions, and friends.
But I've known this guy for a long time now. And I just want to say, Matt, you've always been part of our family, but now it's official. You're my son-in-law.
I thank you for loving me as I am, for always making me laugh when you know I really don't want to laugh at you, and for making sure we have the greenest and best groomed lawn in the street, because I secretly do love it.
I promise to make you my #1 priority, even when the Lord needs a mow. So before we start into the next chapter of our lives, I give you one last promise. I promise that this is only the beginning and the best is yet to come. I love you.
Today I stand here before you, ready to start the biggest adventure and best part of our lives together. I can't imagine sharing this life with anyone else but you.
All right, Jared. So if you're watching this for the first time, what we like to do is a round of what we really loved about the film, and then we each do a round of things we think that they could do to potentially improve, if any. So, Jared, what do you love about that film?
Well, I think that couple probably loved that film. I thought it was so thoughtful and it matched their personality, I think, perfectly. The songs that you chose were awesome for this film. I thought it was perfect. Like, typically, my style is like really ramp it up for like the reception, and maybe our style is a little bit more like linear. But I loved kind of the music that you chose for the reception stuff as well, and just kind of brought that vibe all the way through. I think there's a lot to love. First of all, the Fujifilm looks great. It's like you said, Jay, skin tones are amazing, and you really don't have to do that much work to make it look that great.
But I even like the look they applied. Like, they have a nice little look on it.
Yep.
It looks great.
Definitely stylized. It's not overdone, I would say. It's not like super heavy-handed. You know what it reminds me of, and their name kind of reminds me of it, is Joel and Justina too. It kind of like looks a lot like their skin tones. Their greens tend to vibe with what Joel and Justina are photography friends that we've had on the podcast, and their work is phenomenal as well. But yeah, I think there's a lot to love there. I was gonna compliment the audio, but then it kind of started to go kind of all over the place a little bit. It seemed like your ceremony audio was really good, sounded awesome, and then during the reception, it sounded different, let's just say. And then also, I think the first look was great. They mentioned that they wish that the dad was over to the right a little bit more, so they weren't right in front of the window. But I thought for Fujifilm, you retain the highlights really well in the background. And
yeah, I didn't see that as a problem at all.
I didn't see it as a problem. I think during that moment specifically, Courtney, you guys balanced it really well. It's hard to do. Trust me, like, we try to train shooters every single year of like what that balance is when they're right in front of that open, just bright window. But I think you did the right thing in just stopping it down, making it a little bit more shadowy, and trying to retain those highlights, making it a little bit more silhouetted. I thought it was a perfect choice there. So
I thought it didn't even cross my mind. Like, knowing how weddings are, you don't have the ability to make the perfect choice all the time.
Right. Like, if you work weddings for any amount of time, you'll be like, hey, even if you told the dad to stand there, he probably would have just been still overwhelmed with joy seeing his daughter, and like,
that's all I was focused on, is the look on his face. I didn't even
Right.
look at the exposure, really. I mean, I looked at the skin tone, and I thought the skin tones were great.
Yep. So clearly, you know what you're doing when you're shooting. It's very clear in the decisions that you made. Your color is super consistent across the board for the entire film. And you're also a really great creative shooter. Like, some of the shots that I really liked were during the reception, like, you shot people's shadow on the wall over there. And that kind of takes like some observing. So obviously,
the nice
you're
shot
a
of
good
all like the
listener.
hotel
Parasols.
Yeah,
I love those.
It was cool.
I love those. It just, I always say it, like, being a good videographer, you kind of have to be a good listener, and you're just listening with your camera. And that's how I felt, like, through the film. Like, you were listening to, like, what the vibe of the day felt like. You're shooting the things that you felt like would complement things. Like, I don't always think people's B-roll really complements the film. It's like, oh, I'm just going to film this bird on a branch. Like, I don't know, like, maybe it's a cool moment, but it doesn't really add to the film. But shooting those kind of B-roll shots, I think, adds to the vibe of the film. So,
by the way, Kane, I've watched the film like 3 times already. So, like, I watched the film. That's why I'm giving feedback. Sorry, you don't understand that I'm producing the show as well as being on camera. So,
and I'm writing down notes. So, and also watching it on my.
And also, don't be so judgy. Get your own show, bro. So, I think this, like, the skin tones is a big deal. I love the skin tones, and I think it felt like when they were in a situation that they really, really had a handle on, I felt like they had a strong vision of what they wanted their films to look like, and I felt like it was distinct enough, like when you watch a film like that, and like just anything in the field, you want to have a look. And they had a look, and I love that. I love that they had a look. I also agree with you that I felt personal, like the story felt personal, down to earth. I have mixed feelings on the songs because I do like the songs. The songs were cool. They reflected the coolness of the couple and the coolness of the filmmakers. And so I agree with you. It was really nice in that way. So what do you think that they could do to maybe improve the film a little bit?
Well, this is one that we'll both probably want to talk about, is the audio. So like I said, I thought the ceremony audio sounded great, and I was like, oh man, like I'm gonna enjoy listening to this. But then it got to the reception, and it started just sounding strange. How would you describe that audio, Jay? What do you think happened there? 'Cause I don't think Courtney's in
It
the
sounded
strategy.
one of two things. Either they didn't get, it sounded like a lot of processing. And I think this is a mistake a lot of people make, is like when there's noise or any kind of like non-ideal, like you don't want to go crazy on noise reduction or any things like that. You're better off letting it exist naturally instead of like, because if you don't know how noise reduction works, all it's doing is removing things from the audio to make it sound quote unquote cleaner. And I personally, I always notice it, and it's a little distracting to me. So it could be that. It also could be just that they didn't like plug directly into the system, or they have like they had a mic that was far away. Something broke. I don't know. I'd be interested in know. That's why I wanted to know. The one thing I will say is, when you have audio like that, how you position it, I think really matters. And I think just on another note, when it comes to audio, is like there are a bunch of times where the person would be talking and then the vocals would like really come in really loud. Like the first time like that Bon Iver guy came in over the dad talking.
Yeah.
It's like you got to nudge that clip back.
Yeah.
Like put the audio in its own space and the singing in its own space, and give your film, like, you need to create room for the dialogue. And it felt like there was no sonic space for the dialogue. They were just getting lost.
So this is something we've been doing for our films this year, and the way we've been kind of teaching our team and new editors is like, lay out your audio first. That means the song, that means the voiceover, so they're not competing, right? And it just like sounds right out of the gates. You have 5 minutes of just like moving your clips around, fitting them into parts where maybe there's not, singing overlapping with voiceover. Like that can be really jarring. I think just, the audio can be jarring. And then fitting your clips afterwards. That's the final kind of step once you get everything figured out. I think that would help. And actually what we found is it not only helped us storytell better, but it also helped us become faster editors, because we were much more directive. Like I'm super ADD, so when I edit, I'm like, oh, this, it's just like I want to do one thing.
Basically dealing with every problem as it comes.
Yeah, it's like typing when you're doing, what do they call it, chicken scratch or pecking away or whatever. Like that's the way I edit. So I'm so slow when I'm editing. Caleb, Travis, much faster, because they have a process. Like I do this first, this second, this third. So I would recommend that to anyone who's kind of maybe struggling with, maybe overlapping the song and audio, but then also struggling just where to start. I think that would help people a lot.
What else, Jared, could they do to improve?
I wish that there was closer up shots. The only kind of critique of shooting that I would say is I wish there was closer up shots of the speakers and then also of the bride and groom as they were listening. The bride and groom shot was nice because it was composed nicely kind of in between people, and you kind of saw them in the foreground out of focus, and they were kind of in the background, which is kind of cool. I like that, actually. But I wish your shot was a little bit tighter. And really, that a lot of times we deal with the same thing. It's just not having enough of the right type of lens for that. I just love like a nice tight telephoto lens, because when someone's speaking and you see them, you see so much emotion on their face that's being conveyed. It isn't just what they're saying, but it's also like how they're looking when they're saying it. I think it tells a little bit of story. So just pumping in a little bit more, and that could potentially just be cropped in a little bit more. I know it's tough with the X-T4s because you're only shooting 4K. You're not able to really pump in too much if you're wanting to export in 4K and just do post cropping. But something that I wish I saw a little bit more. But that's probably my only real like shooting critique, I would say.
Really? You didn't like? Yeah. You liked their lights? I thought their lights were bad.
During the reception?
Yes. It was white balance, so blue.
It was pretty blue, but I think it was just stylized with the, what they like. It's
so
not really
this is where we'll have a difference of opinion then.
Sure.
I think that the lights, I think that this is how the film comes across to me. Great filmmakers who really do really well, natural light, and work with people really well who are not very technical. And I think the biggest thing you can do as a filmmaker to improve is to become better with your gear.
Yeah.
To understand light more, to understand audio more. These are technical things. They're not artistic. They're not personal. They're just the parts. And so a lot of us, when we start making films or doing any kind of art, we have the area that we naturally are skilled at. And then we have the area where maybe we have to put in more effort. And I think you guys need to put in a little more effort into understanding, like, what are you trying to do with your lights, right? Are you, well, we don't have a bicolor light. And maybe it's an equipment thing too. Maybe it's they don't have the equipment, like you were saying. Maybe they only have a daylight balanced light. They don't have a telephoto lens, all those things. Either not knowing how to use the equipment or not having the equipment. I feel like if you can get either, like I said, a little more skill with like trying to like get your lights to match. Like to me, when I got to that reception, it didn't look like the same filmmaker.
Right. Right.
Like it looked like a totally different film. And I think that's when I look at it and go like, I don't think this was intentional because everything else was so intentional. They're like literally composing like awnings in a really intentional way. And I felt like once we hit that reception, it kind of lost their style. Like it no longer felt like they had control. And I felt like I could feel that like discomfort that they were having with what they were having to shoot. And I think, just get more like, get your lights, like shoot, like create the lighting environment that looks good with your look. Don't just like change it. So I think that's a big thing for me. And then the stuff we mentioned with audio. And this is more of a debate, which is like, I can't say that they should have kicked it up a notch in the reception, for sure. I agree. Like I know that's what we would have chosen to do and what many people would have. So I don't want to say like they should have done that, right? But I do feel like the film lacked energy in some parts, and I don't really know how to fix that for them. Maybe they didn't have the footage. Maybe they just don't want to. I wonder if they want to just rethink through, like, if they're going to tell stories in this way, how to insert a little more vibe and energy into the reception and the dance floor and things like that. It just kind of like felt like a throw-in.
I can agree because I think it depends how long the film is, right? Like if you have a film that's like, 5 minutes in length, even like around the 4 minute mark, I think that's when people are ready just in our day and age of like people barely have any attention spans. I think people are ready for a different vibe at that point, like 4 to 5 minutes. That's when we usually switch over songs. It's probably like 3.5 minutes. And we typically are switching over right around the ceremony. That's just our kind of basic template, and we can vary it depending on the wedding. If we,
and that's a lot of people. That's just like, I think that's like the modern standard wedding format.
Totally. And so, but like you, I don't want to tell someone like, hey, every wedding film, of course, like we're the last people in the world that would ever tell people to conform to a certain standard. But I do think at that point, if you're gonna think about your audience, just think about what they're looking for, and even if it is a change of pace
or who you are, like how do you talk? Like it felt like you had one voice until you hit the reception, and then you were like, shoot, we have to put this crap in. And it just didn't really feel like you had a strong vision for how to handle that environment.
Yep. So even if you like cut it down to just being one song and being 45 minutes and that was like kind of what you're selling, I think that would have worked great. I think it felt a little bit long for what it was in the pacing that it was set to. And if you wanted to extend it to the length that it was, it probably would have been nice to change up.
I think if they sit down and go, how do we tell reception stories? And they answer that question for themselves, and of course make it look a little better. I think they will be fine. They're great filmmakers, and I just want to say like, really, really, really excellent. Great.
It's beautiful.
It's really beautiful.
Yep.
So.
For what it is, like cloudy day, the skin tones look amazing. Like there's a lot of things to love about it. And I think these people have a lot of talent. So you guys did great. I'm sure the couple absolutely love this film. So props to you guys.
So who do we got next, Jared?
So who do we have next? Before we hop in there, I just wanted to remind everyone that we have a podcast in addition to WFS Live that we do on a pretty, I would say, bi-weekly basis at this point. We had Josh from A Little Long Distance on our last episode, so make sure you're checking that out, guys. You can find that anywhere you find podcasts. It's called the Wedding Film Schol Show, as well as on YouTube. We have a separate YouTube channel, not Wedding Film Schol. It's the Wedding Film Schol Show, to display kind of our more long-form content.
Here, since Lindsay was in the chat, I'll share his episode.
Yes, do that. Do that.
Down in the chat. Lindsay from Larev was on a couple weeks ago. We just had Josh from A Little Long Distance on. Me and you just did an episode that I think is very spicy.
Yeah, some people in the audience might think it's a little spicy.
About 5 bits of bad advice.
Yeah, I like it. It's definitely the kind of show that we like to do. So,
if you don't know us in the wedding filmmaking world, we're the mean ones.
No, come on. You're the mean one.
I'm the mean one. You're the charming one.
Yeah.
The charming knave.
So, whatever. The next film that we have, Jay, is from Fitzgerald Films. Fitzgerald in
He's
the
a
house.
member.
Is he a member, an official member? I think he is a member.
That's why he's got green, as well as Ranga.
Something that, if you're not familiar with WFS Live, members get first priority to posting their film and having it critiqued here every Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so if you are looking to have your film, if you keep on posting and Jason keeps on ignoring your post and your submission, then maybe you just have to join.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything over here. Just trying to push out 220 wedding films.
Yeah. Don't feel bad for Jason. If you're feeling bad for Jason, don't feel bad for him. But if you want to get it posted, it does put you to the beginning of the line. So check that out, guys. As far as what film we'll be watching from Fitzgerald Films today, let's see. He said, such small print on my laptop far away.
Do you want me to read it?
Filmed on Canon R7. No, I'm good. Canon 80D, Canon SL2.
Is this the first one you upgraded with, Grant? Answer in the chat, because I know you had upgraded cameras recently.
Yes, let us know. As far as notes, he says, these were 2 good days overall. The first day was a Catholic ceremony and a small portrait session. The second was another ceremony with reception. The groom was stiff and awkward with portraits, but I think I edited well around it, so it wasn't noticeable. One of the biggest snags I ran into was after I had set up my lights for the first dance. The DJ turned on his lights until the dances started.
Yeah, classic.
That's classic, yeah. Let's see. Then when he switched them off, I hadn't realized that my main light had gone out. So I asked the DJ to flood the floor, and in turn, my white balance was a bit off, and the lighting was not as I had envisioned.
It sounds like you shot a wedding.
Yeah. Classic. Unforeseen circumstances. Also, I hadn't had enough time to really get used to my new camera, so navigating changing video modes from say 60 FPS to 24 took a couple more taps on the screen I wasn't used to. So it worked out. Yes, definitely understand that, Jason. I think that answers your question.
Yes.
Which is always fun. We switched over cameras, and so I feel your pain. But I'm sure it's going to be great. So let's play this thing, and then we'll go through the critique afterwards.
And hopefully people will keep roasting us in the chat.
Oh, hopefully. Only if you screw up again, Jay.
Yeah, my bad. They were mad, which I understand.
This time it gives me great pleasure to present to the community for the first time Mr. and Mrs. Larson, married in Christ.
My love, pretty lady. Can one person be any luckier than I am right now in this moment to forever and always call you my wife?
From the first time that I met you, I thought you were the one, but I wasn't entirely sure until we started talking about family. The way you spoke about your family reminded me of the love that I have for mine. In that moment, I knew you were the one.
So back in March, my little sister asked Christine, when did you know JC was the one? And Christine answered Lindsay's question by saying, I knew JC was the one when I heard him and my mom talking together on the phone for the first time. She ended by saying, "'Cause when you know, I found my person."
Our lives together the last 18 months have moved so fast. With the initial, oh my God, do I like this person? To meeting people in this world that matter most to us, to booking this amazing venue and getting engaged. And yes, those are in the correct order.
I love you because you're the most positive, loyal, friendly, and kind-hearted man I know. I believe in you, the person you are, and the couple and family we will be together.
Hi, Courtney.
You look handsome.
This guy keeps missing his kisses. It's
Welcome, family and friends. We've come together in the presence of God to witness the marriage of JC and Christine, to surround them with our prayers, and to share in their joy. Let us enter into the celebration confident that, through the Holy Spirit, Christ is present with us.
Huh. Interesting creative choice.
I, John, take you, Christine, to be my wife. I promise to be faithful to you in good times and in bad.
In sickness and in health, to love you and to honor you all the days of my life.
It is my honor to present to you all, for the second time, Mr. and Mrs. JC Larson.
I can see that 24 that you
Glad
thought
we're
was
able to
60.
Celebrate the marriage of JC and Christine, and I hope we can bless them with a fruitful marriage. We put it all together, and I think it's just one big happy family.
I can remember back to the pandemic when JC got to go to a birthday dinner with Christine. She was so excited for the new relationship. When he called me on the phone, all I could think of is, oh God, I hope this works out. And it did, so thank you for that, Christine.
JC, I know we've got forever together, so I have no reason to complain. There's nothing about us I'd change, except for one thing. I wish I had met you sooner, so I could have loved you longer.
Okay, Jared. I like that little last quote, by the way.
Yeah, really cool. Really good work, man. I like that film a lot. I think there's a lot that you nailed, and it was very intentional. I think understanding kind of some of the things that you were going through makes me understand some of the creative decisions that you made, which I'm assuming, if I know Jason, we'll really dive into. But yeah, lots of love. I think you kind of focused on something that always kind of pulls my heartstrings a little bit more, which is just really talking about family and honing in, and some of the sound bites you used there were great. I think the way they interacted and went back and forth were great. Part of me wishes that the bride and groom's what kind of started the film. I think the officiant started the film. I don't know why. I think it just felt a little bit better in as far as like introducing your characters, like introducing the bride and groom early. I think is pretty important for a wedding film, as opposed to introducing the voice of the pastor, unless they say something that's like super profound and sets the stage for the whole film or something.
Well, I think he was trying to do something which maybe we should talk about this as a separate kind of conversation.
Yeah.
Which is he had 2 days, 2 ceremonies.
Right.
Right. They were very different. One looked good. One looked terrible.
Yep.
He did I think a mixed approach, which is a little chronological, which is why he started it with the first day, and then he did some split screening later, and then he also kind of did a chronological from a story standpoint, that ceremony was later and the other ceremony was earlier. What do you feel about that in terms of like that approach?
Yeah, man, I was gonna try to throw it to you so to hear your thoughts on it first.
Well, let's just talk together.
So, it was. I think when I first watched it, it was a little bit jarring because I was like, "What is going on?" I think for the viewer that doesn't know what's going on, doesn't know that they had two separate weddings, on two separate days, it would be a little bit like, whoa, what is happening?
Well, they kind of try to communicate it like the next day was on the screen, but it a little bit confused me.
Yeah. But at the same time, part of me kind of liked it at the same time, oddly enough. So I don't know.
I give them credit because it's like they took a challenging situation. They took something and they just picked a choice. And that's what it is a lot of times. It's like you have something that happens in a wedding day. You just choose, I'm going to present it this way.
Yeah. So first when I looked at it, and the screen is a little bit farther away, but I was looking at it and I was like, is that his twin brother in a darker suit?
Yes.
And he's in a lighter suit. Like that was my initial thoughts as just a viewer. And then I was like, no, oh yeah, they had two separate ceremonies. I had to put it together in my brain. So that's what I mean by I was like, it was a little bit jarring, but it was like,
yeah, it's one of those things where the fact that you chose to do chronological, but then you chose to also not do chronological. And that's a risky choice. It doesn't really hurt the film, but it is a little jarring. And I'm not saying I would have had a way better idea.
Yeah.
I
did notice that they leaned on the second ceremony because honestly, I think it just looks a lot better.
Oh, I have a whole other thing about that later, but
I probably would have leaned on just the better lighting for a majority of the ceremony, which I think he did. And I think it was a good choice there. In general, to just kind of go off of just things that I liked about the film, I think you guys covered your events really well, which is like a pet peeve of mine of like not just having your basic coverage. I think your first look was covered really well. You had your wide, very good composition, wide shot. And then you also had your tight shot to get closer up reactions. I love that. I'm a sucker for that because I look for it in my shooters to be like, do we have enough coverage of this that we can have options in post?
Even like a portrait session with the rain, like kind of just, there's a lot of good portrait work in there.
Yep.
Like the personality. Like I watch it and I'm like, oh, he looked like, yeah, I could see he's uncomfortable in some ways, but he's comfortable with her.
Yeah.
So
I definitely have some thoughts on some portrait work, but the other things that I really loved was I thought his lighting was actually really good. I thought the 45-degree lighting that he was employing for people's speeches, I thought was good. Maybe it could use a little bit of a backlight and it just kind of gets muddy when it just gets really, really dark. But I thought your positioning was great, and in order to do that well, you have to have that really thought out. So I think you did a good job there. Same thing for some of the grooms, like that shot of the dad. I thought it was nice.
I think I can see. I don't like the lights he's using, and I can see the floodiness of it, and it looks worse when on my larger screen.
Sure.
And I don't know that you can do anything about it, by the way. So it's kind of like you have the lights you do, you get gear. I think I would have liked, like, it's so contrasty and it looks just kind of like, security camera-ish to me.
Like that shot right there?
Yes.
Looking at?
Like this,
because it's flat. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's flat, and then because like he doesn't like he's using, you can see the light in the background. It's like one of those LED panels.
Yeah,
it's not like a Fresnel or something that's focusable.
Yeah.
And I think that really stuck out to me.
Yeah.
And it looks pretty solid here. Like that's okay, but that right there looks pretty nice. A little contrasty to me.
Yeah.
Like on his face, but I like the concept. It definitely looks better than the other one, which is like you see the orange in the background and like the nice popping subject. I don't feel like you're getting that effect on the dances.
Yeah. And that might have been when the dances got screwed up and
yes.
make an adjustment
Mm-hmm.
eventually. But But yeah, I think I don't know if I necessarily have a problem with those kind of like those flooded lights, because there it looks pretty good, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's nice and backlit. I don't really love the way the environment looks to me.
Yeah.
I would have probably get my ratios a little closer together.
Yeah, potentially. All depends what is in the background there.
But it's people. I like people in the background. Everyone's watching it. It looks nice. Anyway, what I liked about the film was, first of all, I can tell that you have a new camera and that it looks better. I think it's elevated your films than the 60D. I think that new camera is very noticeable, and I can already see the improvement. And so you used it well. And this is the thing. Everyone goes, oh, it's not about gear. It's not about gear. No, you're right. It's not about gear. But the gear is a limitation that can be an artificial limitation on your quality if your gear is holding you back. And I think there is a point in your career where your film can be held back. And I think your films were held back, and now I'm seeing the improvement. So that's awesome. I know that's not, and I'm like, I love about you, but I noticed it, and that's great. I think your clients will notice it. I think the sound bites you chose were solid. I actually think, knowing the problems you dealt with, I think you accommodated for them really well. And that is what a professional wedding filmmaker does, right? They're awkward couples, multiple days, confusing storytelling you have to manage, lights dying. I think I will say, like, getting into what we think you can improve, those things happening are things that you should try to not let happen. Like, your battery's dying. Like, it did affect the film. Like, the film would be better if you had more control and you didn't have that happen to you. And so I would say one thing to improve on is just anticipating those kind of issues, trying to not let them happen. I know that's basic advice, but it does affect our films. And, you know, I could see like the 24 frames second push-ins on the gimbal during the reception.
Yeah.
Those
Just
little
be better. Thanks for coming.
Be better.
Yeah.
Grant, be better. But I will say, like, these are simple things. The more attention to detail you bring to the table, they're going to just keep paying off in your films.
Yeah.
And they get better and better and better.
Yeah.
And it's easy stuff to mess up, but it's also really easy to fix and improve. And and then the other thing I was going to say is, like, the sibilance on your vocals, like that 500 to 800 kilohertz range, is so painful. Like, you got to roll the highs down a little. However you're capturing audio or EQing audio is just like burning my ears.
I'm not going to make any comments on audio because I can only hear out of this ear, and I'm hearing through these crap headphones, and I don't even know if what I'm hearing is right. Oh, now I hear through my, Jason's playing with it. Kind of in my left.
We kind of got a piece of gear.
I just feel like I would do someone a disservice.
Yeah, but I am saying, like, when you're EQing,
you, Jay.
rolling down like that sibilance range from 5,000 to 8,000 kilohertz will help. Like, you want to give it, like, you want it to feel full bodied. Like, and you notice when when they're doing the first look and the mic's on the dad, it sounds, you know, meaty and like good sounding vocals. And then when it gets to the girls talking, either the way you captured it, female vocals tend to be a little more this way. They're like, and it's like stinging your ears. Try to notice that.
Fair. I think that's good stuff. I want to do one critique, and then I want to ask you a question, Jay. So one critique that I would say is on the shooting side is, Grant, I wish you would get a little bit closer.
You like this guy's face right here?
Yeah, I like that. But getting a little bit closer during the bride and groom's portraits, I know that the groom was a little stiff. It happens. But sometimes getting a little closer and just showing, like, her hands on his chest or her hands on her bouquet or something that's just tighter and closer, it doesn't really require their facial reactions or anything like that. And it just allows you to kind of fill it out a little bit more with different perspectives. So it doesn't just look like it's on a single lens. You can kind of like pop in, get really close, and then you do your wide shot, and then you do your mid shot, and then you pop in and get a tight shot. I think it just keeps it interesting a little bit more, especially during portraits. I always tell our shooters, like, move your feet. Like, no, don't just zoom. But move your feet because that's going to make it feel a little bit more interesting at the end of the day. So
I agree.
My question for you, Jay, though, is going to be, what do you think about actual background audio that's happening, like in this moment here, where you hear the guys like maybe being like broing it up kind of thing, or the girls kind of cheering? Do you like that in a film?
Yeah, I love ambient audio, especially when you're trying to drive home a visual, right? Like when it's a reaction to like the girls going, ooh, you know, when they see the bride for the first time. Or the only thing I'll say about that is a little goes a long way. A dab will do ya.
Yeah.
And all you're trying to do is enhance the visual. You're not trying to actually let people hear what the person's saying. Like, it's not about like getting it that high in the mix. Again, it's talking about like if you view all your audio as a pipeline and there's only so much bandwidth for all the things you want to put in it, and you don't want to fill the pipeline.
Right.
You want it to be, there's always to be headroom in any kind of audio space you're creating. So I think not too loud.
Yep.
And then I think it should punctuate a visual typically. Like, and what some people will do is they're like, be like, look at this drone shot flying over some leaves. And then they put in wind sound, right? Or leaves rustling sound. And I'm like, you are 300 feet above those leaves. You would not hear leaves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you're trying to make the person watching the film think about what they would be hearing if they were there, not what it gets a little tricky. And so just kind of a dab will do you, and then kind of the goal is to make a person, you know, it's like light. They say like light should be motivated.
Yeah.
Good, especially in commercial lighting. You want it to look motivated by a window or by some real subject. Audio should be the same way. Audio should feel motivated by the actual thing you're seeing.
Yep. I would agree. You know, a little goes a long way, you know, making it so it's not just apparent. Because as soon as it becomes almost like gaudy, where it's like you're using too much, or it's too loud, like Jason mentioned, I think it does start to pull people out of what they're viewing. And you want people to be drawn in and not try to pull themselves away and be like Jay said, you know, oh, wrestling trees 300 feet away, why would I be hearing that from a drone perspective? Like those kind of things.
Yeah, just
I don't think you did that. I thought it was a little bit loud at times, but that was probably my own perspective, and probably honestly just by bad headphones that I'm listening to it on. But yeah,
no,
overall,
I would agree.
I think this couple again is probably thrilled with this film. Let's see, what was the cost of the film? I think it was in the $5,000 range, about $4,000 for a 4 to 6 minute highlight ceremony edit and coverage of the film.
I just love seeing someone like Grant and filmmakers out there making good money, making a living, doing this kind of stuff. And like, you know, you can do it. If you're watching this and you're like, weddings, there's no money in weddings. Like, you can make good money doing this, and you know, you don't even need to have it all together.
Yep.
Like, you can you start where you're at, and as long as you're delivering, and this is a great product, by the way.
Yep.
So good job, man.
Jason, we are off next week off WFS Live, correct?
Yeah, doing a little traveling, so we're not going to be in country.
Yep. So if you are thinking about submitting for WFS Live, the link is at the top of the comment section there, guys. Make sure you're submitting there, and we will take a look at those, and we'll be doing that 2 weeks from now. So get to it now, and we'll be taking a peek at it.
Although, who knows? Bobby might decide he wants to do it, and
he might call an audible.
We'll
see.
Email everyone if we decide to do it. But as of now, we will not be on next week, so we'll see you the week after.
Let's see. So
we're gonna do one more film.
Yep.
Which is Ranga, from Ellie Meyer Studio, and she's, I think, correct me. I apologize. You're in the chat. He or she, or however you identify. Let me know. But it says, hey guys, I'm a lead cinematographer and editor for Ellie Meyer Studio. We're based out of Gainesville, Florida. This is my first live review submission, so I'm excited and nervous. This was a typical Southern barn wedding. It's one of my favorite venues to shoot. The scenery is beautiful, and there's always incredible light there. This was one of my edits, and I was also the lead shooter, which is always great. Our main camera was a Sony a7S III and a7 IIs as our B cameras. We had to shoot 3 days prior to the wedding, and I forgot to change the color profile on the two, so there's balance issues. Color balance, I'm assuming they mean. Throughout the day, one of the most noticeable mistakes from that day was the ceremony shot of the groom's reaction. Looking back at it, I should have never put it in the video, but the couple did not do a first look, and I felt obligated. I get that. Overall, I am pleased on how the video turned out, but I'll leave it to you guys. He calls us experts, but I'm just going to get rid of that and just say you guys. You guys are amazing, and I find your critiques. Oh, thank you very much. You're amazing. So, thank you for trusting us to watch this thing. Bobby says he's going to do the live stream next week, so he's going to do it. So here we go with the film. Excited to watch it. I think we had this song a couple weeks ago.
I think we use this song all the time.
Yeah, this is one of the songs of the year chapters.
Welcome, everyone.
It's a cool white
We
shot.
gather today as family and as friends to witness, to bless, and to celebrate the joining together of this man and this woman in matrimony.
I love beer. I like wine.
Come talk with me, stay and watch the day grow old. I've been waiting for the moment to arrive. Come stand with me down under the stars at night. Come look with me.
Does anyone listen to the band Chapters as like a band? Is that like a band people are like, oh, I'm a Chapters fan?
No.
Isn't that weird?
I mean, they probably make a lot more money than other
I'm
bands
not-
that I like to listen
I'm
to
not-
because they just are, every wedding filmmaker buys their songs.
I'm not mocking them. I don't think their music is bad, but I couldn't imagine like.
We should have them on the podcast.
They went on How to Film Weddings one time.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah. Yes. Are we having an issue? All right, let's keep going.
Yeah.
We have been through most of life's ups and downs together. In any situation, I have always been able to count on Ashlyn to be there and vice versa. From Harry Potter weekend marathons by the pool, our cake baking phase, being in the weekend rotations with your parents, and to now standing by your side on your wedding day, I could not have been looking for a better best friend.
And I wouldn't miss it for the
He's the first person to give you the shirt off his back, and he never expects anything in return. I'm getting emotional. I practiced this a lot. It wasn't emotional. All right? But I know any type of problem I have, he'll be the first person that I turn to. And Ashlyn, don't think I forgot about you. You've brought so much happiness into Dustin's life, and I think I can speak for everyone here that we were excited to watch you build your life together. So I love you both very much, and congratulations.
That's Jared's kind of groom.
Florida man.
Florida man. Florida man gets married with camo shock.
To say my daughter is the apple of my eye is a severe understatement. She is my world.
She's the
time
apple
she
of my
walks,
whole body.
Always by my side, always. Whether I was running errands, whether I was running to the store, whether I was running to the woods, my little wingman was always with me. Jennifer once told me the day Ashton was born, everyone.
So just so you guys know, we typically do 5 minutes on our critiques. We're at 4 minutes already, and there is a lot left. So I'm going to skip a little, and I'm going to give you some feedback mid-film, which is this film is way too long for what it is. Now, I understand, by the way, that that's not always your choice. Couples buy these things, and sometimes it just is what it is. You don't get to decide how long a film is. But I will say, I don't know how you feel about this, Jared, the pacing is very, very, very dragging.
Yeah, and I'm noticing a couple things, and I don't want to go against our show.
Well, we could go against it because we're going to be breaking this critique up.
So I like this film. I think this person's a really great shooter. But also it does feel like it's dragging on, and I've seen a couple shots that are like really great shots, but you've almost had to use them a couple different times, or if it's not the exact same shot, it's like that really close couple with the sun behind, or this close shot with the couple where the sun's behind them and you're kind of playing with a little light leak. You know, you had to use that a couple times because you're having to draw it out. And that's a great shot that you want to like use clearly. But when you're starting to have to repeat it over and over again, it's just like, okay, you know, I wish it was a little bit shorter. And then you could use that shot when it really, you know, means something. So I think that's what I would prefer. I do wish it was a little bit shorter. And
I'm just like watching the film and thinking like, all right, next thing we're gonna learn, and like we just keep going back to them getting their outfit put on over and over, and like like
it's not going anywhere. It's just kind of like wallowing in the same.
It's like on a treadmill.
Place. Yep.
It's like we're still getting ready 4 minutes into the film.
And this is what I would say here, and you know, just what we've done to kind of solve this problem, because when your deliverables start affecting your film, essentially,
like they control what your art.
Yeah, your saleable deliverables. Yeah, they start controlling your art. So what we've done is no matter what package people get, our highlight films are always going to be 5 to 6 minutes long, and then we're just adding different deliverables to that. We're not extending our film until you get to our highest package, where we do a 12 to 16 minute film, and then people have to buy more coverage.
And we'll talk over this while it's playing, but like, I think
to make that film happen.
The other issue I see is the not including any dialogue really for this long of a thing. It's really, really also affecting the film, because essentially like it's going like this. And like you don't really have any peaks and valleys. Like even when I remember when there was one point in this song where the music dips, right, and that drum beat comes in. It's like do 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 psh, do 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 do, right? And I was thinking like, oh, we're gonna like change it up a little. We're gonna bring some. I thought that you were gonna use that and leverage that, and instead, what we ended up doing, there's that shot again, or that basic kind of look again. We ended up doing is just kind of like sitting in the same exact place, but just with less sound. And it ends up like anyway, it's not terrible. I'm not trying to say it's terrible, but I am saying like I feel like I'm watching it and I'm going like, all right, get on with it, like a little bit, and it's making me a little restless. So anyway, we're the film's going and we keep watching, so I'll turn it up a little. We'll keep watching the rest.
To know how proud he is of the man you've become.
So I'll back it up a little so you can hear the beginning. And the song does kick up, by the way.
So here we are today, celebrating the love you two share. It's an honor to be up here as one of your best
got another
friends to have
classic.
witnessed and been a part of your story. I wanted to end with a little piece of advice. Be a best friend, tell the truth, and never use I love you at all times. Although Duder can't be here tonight, I know he would want you, Dustin, to know how proud he is of the man you've become, and Ashlyn, how thrilled he would be for you to become his daughter-in-law, and how thrilled he is that you two have chosen to spend your lives together. With that being said, will you guys please raise your glass in a toast to the new Mr. and Mrs. Dustin Tuck.
Feeling rising to the ceiling, singing. And you got me feeling alright. Let me show you I was made to hold you. So lose your shoes and dance with me, dance with me. I got this feeling rising through the ceiling, singing. Darling, you got me feeling alright. Let me show you I was made to hold you. So lose your shoes and dance with me, dance with me. I got this feeling rising through the ceiling, singing. Darling, you got me feeling alright. Let me show you I was made to hold you. So lose your shoes and dance with me, dance with me, dance with me tonight. Dance with me tonight. Dance with me
She cannot do that. She cannot do that dance move. She was a bride. All right, I'm going to get right into, I want to critique this one. Well, then we'll talk about what we liked.
Okay.
Let's do the negatives first. So I want to show one moment as a example of the editing needing to improve. And it wouldn't stick out necessarily to most people, but this sticks out to me, right? So first of all, this whole thing is going, dance with me tonight, dance with me tonight, dance with me tonight. It's like, you should trim that. Like, have him say it 2 times or whatever. Don't let him say it 8 times. But then you're getting here, right? And dance with me tonight, and they're dancing. And you're getting into like the highlight moment, right? So right here, this right here, that's the height of the drama. She's loving him. She's connecting. I'm thinking, we're gonna fade out, maybe do the next shot. But this is what we do. Cut to this. What's happening here? He's just awkwardly looking at her, and then it fades out. And you're like, that's a perfect example of this film, which is you had a really good moment that you covered really well that was about to be your exclamation point, and you cut it short, included a really lame moment that didn't really look that good. And it's like how you choose to layer your editing and when you choose to reveal information about someone in the film, like that's the last shot of the film before like the closer shot right here. I think like it wasn't a good choice. Like you should have just let that beautiful, romantic, emotional moment. That's the last thing we see. Don't include the other shot. And does that make sense, Jared?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. What doesn't make sense is that brass knuckles that you have.
Oh no, these. Hey, listen. This is very filmmakery because this goes to a background stand.
Yeah.
So therefore,
I know what it is. So it's just like
if
what?
You're watching this and you think I don't know about camera gear, I do.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you, and I think it really all the problems or not all of them, but a lot of them. That I have with this film just happens to do with how long it is. Like so much slow motion in this film that
shots that just didn't need to be.
Wish didn't have to be in slow motion, but I understand that's the decision you made because the film has to be so long. That
trim the fat.
Yeah, you're just,
like right here, like this shot. Like this is a nice shot right here, but then we go straight into this from this great shot, which I'm sure they love, to that.
This
like
is the
they don't
perfect
care about
way-
that.
This is the perfect way to describe this film. Is it just feels thin because you've essentially taken all this really good footage and you've had to spread it out and like just spread it really thin to maximize your length, right? Really good shots, really good moments, like everything you would want to really make a punchy film. It's just you spread it too thin, and that's probably my main.
And by the way, he doesn't own the company, right? So to keep that, like, you don't always get to make that choice. And so we understand, like, if your boss is like, no, I want a 7-minute film, that's what they bought.
Right.
Right. Whatever. Okay. I don't recommend that, but it is what it is. And we understand that. But
some other things that I thought of that was a little bit different. And if you don't own the company, maybe this is out of your, decision-making ability. But I thought the logo, I just have a thing with like really big logos at the beginning of films. Minimizing it makes it feel a little bit more classy, a little bit more expensive. I like the logo. I think it's a cool logo, by the way. But just making it a little bit smaller, making it a little bit more tight, will make it feel a little bit more expensive. That's just a basic design characteristic, and maybe it's a trend right now, but I think it definitely goes a long way. The other thing that I questioned was we had that film that song that we talked about at the very beginning, that chapter song, and there was only like 30 seconds of it, right? Or maybe
I thought they were both the same song, but one was the audio version. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think so. I thought we switched over to an entirely different song pretty early, and it felt like it was meant to be like that first song was meant to be like a little bit of like a teaser or like a prelude to the whole film kind of thing. The way that it kind of cut out, because this is a totally different song.
Is it? Yeah.
Right?
I guess I don't know.
Yeah. To slow down the pace a little bit, and it just felt like, oh man, we're already out of this song. I thought we were getting some momentum here. So I wanted to know why I guess that decision was made. Just maybe it just is to extend the film to be, a certain length.
So we were talking in the last one about ambient audio, and I think this is a good example of too much. So like I want to show one thing, Jared.
Too much ambient audio?
Yes. Poorly mixed ambient audio. Like right here, like this sequence came, and I was like feeling really disoriented because there's so much stuff happening. It's like, there's people talking. It's like, it's just cutting, and people, and it was like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think the only time in the film where you used audio that way. Like if it was me, I would have done, whoa, and I would have faded it down after that instead of just like cutting. It's like, is this supposed to be the same sequence or what? Like what's happening? I think that's a good example of being a little more refined and intentional with how you do your ambient audio.
Yep, definitely. Do you have more critiques, or do you want to?
Yeah, no. So the only thing I was going to say was I would fix some of those white balance issues in post. They're not so bad that you couldn't fix them, but like at the beginning, like I could see like, this is you can see the shadows, right, are too blue already. And then you get to this shot and your shadows are one way, right? And then the next shot where they're walking, not this one, but the one where they're walking, this right here, your shadows are super blue. So it's like, I probably would have like, if I'm dealing with moments that are in a similar portrait session, I want all my skin tones to look similar and I can notice them shifting. It's not so off that you couldn't fix it in post. That would be worth your time, kind of tweaking a little bit. Okay, so there are a lot of things we liked about the film, by the way. I personally think it's a good shooter, like very good shooter. I would work with you in a second. And
hell yeah.
Very, very, a lot of nice shots, good gimbal operation. Like even the editing, like from a story standpoint, I think it's too long. Like we said, it's filled with a lot of fat, but it told a coherent story, minus the fact that I think your use of audio was a little odd. Like at the end of the film, you have a bunch of audio. In the beginning of the film, you have almost no audio. It just felt like it was like 6 minutes without hearing from anyone. But other than that, I think it was even the storytelling was pretty solid, if just a little bloated.
Yep. I think that's a good way to describe it. Bloated. I think good shooter. Like I really love some of those shots you got. Like one of my favorite shots is those light leak shots. I love those things. Like those are my like secret weapon. I always love using those.
Oh, everybody. I mean, it's such a.
And you have that nice southern light. Like the colors just pop. The greens look awesome. You have flat light. Like the trees look amazing. Like everything you did made me want to be there because it's about 25 degrees outside right now, and I miss this weather. But yeah, you made the bride look great. I think you complimented the bride in the shots that you got of her. I thought they were really nice. I thought you made the groom look really cool, which guys care about.
Yes.
I'm sure he asked for that shot with his
make me
gun
look cool,
slung
please,
over his shoulder, which I love. I think it's great. I think you captured their personality wonderfully. So, yeah.
All right. So while we're loading up this other film, Jared, I was gonna say in general, like, what to you would be if somebody's starting out as a filmmaker and they have this issue where they feel like they have to include things, right? What's your feeling on like what you like having to include or make a film a certain length? We deal with this all the time as wedding filmmakers. Kind of how do you walk that balance between making a good film and including everything you think someone is expecting?
Man. So, okay. So if I was first starting off and I needed the money, I would just probably do what they were asking. Like if they were like, hey, we really want a 9 to 10 minute film, I'd be like, whatever you want, I'll make it happen. But then for my website, I would cut it down. I would do a separate cut because if you're just starting, you don't have as much work as we do. So you probably have a little bit more time.
Yeah, we always talk about like, oh, I don't want to do that. Just tell them to work with someone else.
Yep. do the. Well, that's what
we
I
can do that.
If I have someone like I just had an inquiry this morning, they were like, hey, your one package is 6 to 10 hours of coverage. We have a range of coverage. We don't just say 6, 8, or 10 hours. We have a range because I don't want people making creative decisions for me, right? And so they asked, can we use 3 hours on Friday to cover this event, and then can we use 7 hours the next day? And we were like, absolutely not. No, you can't do that because I'm going to probably book another wedding on Friday, and so I want to book something for $6,000 both days, $12,000.
But you're making a film, and you're making that compromise, and you feel like you have to include stuff. Like, where do you draw that line between what I have to include in the film and what you want to include?
Well, I'd probably do exactly what I said. I would make the couple happy and deliver something where I could make the money, but then I would do something separate for myself that I'm going to post to Instagram or on my Reels. I mean, if you're talking about length, if you're talking about
just content and length, I think both of them play together.
Yeah, if you're talking about like maybe style or like you said, content.
Like every one of like the common thing is, oh, they had 5 toasts. I had to include 5 toasts, or 10 people walked down the aisle. I want to show every single person, or like kind of like that kind of stuff. My thing is always this, Jared. If they like it so much and they want it so much, why aren't they willing to pay you for it? Right? And so just sell it to them as a separate video. It almost helps you sell it by not including it in the highlight film. And I'm not saying just withhold things, but like I always think like, the video needs to be good, and you're the artist. They're paying you to make a good video. If you watch it and you think this isn't good, you shouldn't deliver it. You should deliver them a good video. And if they say, where is this toast? I really want this toast. You say, so glad you asked. I'm happy to sell you that toast. I have it right here in the hopper.
Yep.
Like that's my take on it is like, first and foremost, you need to make the film you think is good.
I would agree. Because that's just, staying true to your guns. You're eventually going to have people that just want exactly what you're offering.
And they probably agree with you. That's why they hired you.
Yeah. And I would say, as you start to do this more, you start to have less compromises of that kind of stuff, and you build it into your packages. You build it into your contract.
You'll figure out more and more how to sell it.
Yeah. And so, you have your rules, right? And then if you want to make an exception to your rules, you can do that, but people know exactly what they're getting, and you're covered contractually, that you're like, hey, I have full creative control. That's one of the items in our agreement. Just like, hey, we decide what goes in our films. That's what you're buying, is you're buying our creative direction.
All right. So here we got our final film, and it's from Purnell. He's been asking to do it, and
Jason's a big jerk head.
But so here we are.
You know. So let's do our. Why don't we do the critique now that everyone's heard it?
Yeah, we'll talk
do
over
critique as we're going.
Yeah, we'll go over it.
So my first thing, and I want to beat you to it, was that logo starting off was not my favorite.
Fierce and constantly warms me from the cold of fear.
It's coming up. So this is.
You are the guard that vigilantly keeps watch over my heart. Joy is the fragrance that is left wherever you go.
Yeah, that's not good. That's very 90s.
Not a thorn in my side.
Just the
Sarah, you are a flower in my crown. I love you with all of my heart.
What some other people are doing. Also, very, 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 very gimbal heavy, right? Which Purnell, that's.
I've never met a couple that's so different yet so alike at the same time. I haven't been married for a very long time, but I do know that all the great marriages that I've seen, they all have one thing in common, and that's friendship. And Dan and Sarah have that in abundance.
Go ahead, turn around. Hey.
So to friendship, to finding your person,
like these shots
here's to the two best people that I know, Dan and Sarah. Cheers.
The ceremony, I wish that first shot of the ceremony was just starts to feel. The movement isn't always bad, but when it just feels like you're floating.
Marriage is more of a personal commitment than a legal contract. In Matthew it says, what God has joined together, let no man separate.
Blur out your background a little bit more.
Marriage is more a process and a journey than it is a single act. You have to choose each other every day.
I have been dreaming of this day from the moment I understood the concept of it.
First of all,
and now here I stand before you only to realize that my greatest imagination could not have thought of you. When I lean my ear to your chest, I feel the strength of God beating. His spirit drips from your lips like sweet honey, and your obedience inspires the gates of hell to turn and run. You are the blessing that I will sow into the ground to reap a harvest for generations to come. I vow to stand firm in the truth and to sharpen you with its blade. For faithful are the wounds of a friend, and I will be your greatest friend. At the end of it all, let this covenant prove that love as itself will never fail.
Dear Sarah,
Hey, they're not hearing the.
I believe time is one of God's most beautiful creations. And in these months, weeks, and days leading up to this moment, time has felt surreal. Sometimes time was our friend, other times not so much. But now I'm here, and time really is standing still.
Well, it could.
They say you need to be certain for marriage. They say certainty comes with time, but I've always known for a long time that this is where I wanted to stand.
Anyway,
my certainty has not come from time.
I'm watching
it has not come from reason or logic.
I'm just wanting a break.
My certainty comes in the way you speak.
I'm wanting like
your
some
laugh,
other stuff
your
to start
eyes,
happening from
and
time
your
to
heart
time.
for Jesus.
And
You are my constellation. You're the flower in
when
my
you have
crown.
someone with eyes like this many vows, Jared, do you think like you have to include
Before Almighty
everything
God,
in the snake, or do you think you
in the name of the Father, His Son Jesus, and by the power of the Holy Spirit, I now pronounce you one together. You are husband and wife. Dan and Sarah, you may seal it with a kiss.
But that's why you delivered the ceremony edit. They can listen to everything you said.
Right. Totally. So yeah, I think they probably could have been trimmed up. I don't think it
I
bothered
didn't
me
know
as
Sarah
much
was the one very
This is who these
quickly.
people are.
Sarah reached out to people and saying that she was going to be planning a party for Dan, and said, you know, we're all going to chip in and try and get Dan a Lego Star Wars Republic gunship. She said, if you guys want to chip in,
I think
please
that's
do.
okay.
If you
I just,
don't, not a
from
problem.
listening
I will
standpoint,
cover
it was
everything.
like,
And I said,
and it was like, it just there was no like.
she knows how to make Dan
and because the film's 5 minutes long, when you include that much of the vow, you're just like.
When Sarah asked my opinion of Dan after I met him for the first time, I definitely laughed.
And that's all.
As I said, you are literally perfect for each other. But then, Sarah, you paused for a second and you said to me, I would go through all of the pain and heartache again if it would bring me to where I am with him now. the pain and heartache of the past just sort of disappears.
And there are some like even like little like where the people kind of make a little mistake with when they're talking, Jared. Like it's like we don't have to explain it.
Dan, thank you for being a man who looks to Jesus and points Sarah to him too. Thank you for loving Sarah deeply, also teaching her to have loads and loads of fun at the same time. Let's all raise our glass and say cheers to the waterfall of love and fun that is Dan and
Waterfall of love and
cheers.
fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, I like that I like that nerd
Are
culture.
those lights?
represented.
Oh, those are lightsabers.
Yeah, there was like, I think like what was interesting about it was, I don't love that logo. It looks like a high school team. But I think what I liked about the film that there's a lot I liked, honestly. Like that's a great film for your second film, Jared.
Brunel, that's only your second film?
Yes.
Knowing you
I
was the
gonna
greatest
talk about
thing
how you've
that
gotten
ever
so much
happened in my
better.
life. God
I
has
think-
truly
First
blessed
film
me
that I
beyond anything I could have imagined.
He's clearly like he's a talented.
I look forward to spending the rest of my life with you, Audrey.
I honestly like. I was looking at that and I'm like, I'm trying to like consider that this is a second wedding film because I feel like I'm providing.
Your protection
feedback
is
that's a
fierce
little
and
beyond
constantly
that.
warns me from the cold.
But
of
I also
fear.
look at it and it's like, well, this person clearly.
You are the
watched.
guard that vigilantly keeps watch over my heart. Joy is the
I don't know
fragrance
if
that
he
is
does or
left
doesn't,
wherever
but,
you go.
Brunel, I think your first film to second film, leaps and bounds.
Not a
man,
thorn in
really,
my
really
side.
good.
Sarah, you are a flower in my crown. I love you with all of my heart.
It's really good, and our understanding what to do with the gimbal really well, and it was a lot better.
I've never met a couple that's so different yet so alike at the same time. I haven't been married for a very long time, but I do know that all the great marriages that I've seen, they all have one thing in common, and that's friendship. And Dan and Sarah have that in abundance.
Go ahead, turn around.
It's hard.
Hey.
So to
Well, and that's the
friendship,
industry we're in, right?
to finding your person,
I
here's
could
to
give him
the
one
two best
technical.
people that I know, Dan
I
and Sarah. Cheers.
Watching. So I keep looking at that field, right? That field is a character, and it's being presented in a lot of different light. And the one thing I kept
Very
noticing is when
quickly.
you got to the worst light part of the day, I think. What do
You
you
still
think?
can't hear us, Jay, that well.
I mean, it's loud. I don't know what to tell everyone. I'm even looking at all the meters. I mean, I would say turn your volume up, I guess. Like,
It says the audio from the video is overpowering your voices. So is the video playing?
The video's not playing.
Okay.
Like,
maybe when it was.
Yeah, I mean that's true.
Yeah.
That's anyway.
So just pause it and. Yeah.
It is paused. We're paused.
Don't play it again.
I won't play it again. I will. We're looking at this right here, and this is super blown out.
Yeah.
This field, and it just bothers me because it's such a big part of this shot. And I think if I was doing this, I would have probably maybe stopped it down slightly just so it wasn't so blown out. I also think the part of the clip you included in the edit right here
Didn't know Sarah was the
weird
one
because
very
it's like they just start walking down the aisle.
Yeah.
You never, and so there's a few parts like that throughout the film where there's like good moment included, but weird part of the moment where like people are kind of like almost kissing or like they start dancing, like just like this is the thing I critique my guys about, Jared, all the time when we're going in. I'm like, why are you like, no, you know, T-shift that over a little. Like, let's get the good part of the kiss.
Yeah,
the good part.
Get them a little bit closer, because then if that shot that annoyed you a little bit, like it's a wide shot, if you got them a little bit closer, you could stop up a little bit more and actually
or you wouldn't
blow out
notice the background as
Exactly.
much. That,
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't like stick out to you. Like I'm looking at this blown out background.
Yep.
So like I think in general, just like choosing the parts you include. I think this is the moral of the story. Purnell is like editing is the process of removing. So choose the parts you include so that the parts you do include, or choose the parts you don't include so that the parts you do include have more impact. right? Like that's what we're trying to do with wedding filmmaking is like by not including something, you can actually make the thing you do include have more impact. But by including everything, it actually flattens the impact and makes it a less dynamic film.
Yep.
And I feel like there's just a lot in here and it's all really well done. And I'm sure that they loved it, by the way. This is a professional wedding film. It's very saleable.
Yep.
But I think maybe it's just a little bloated. It could be a little cleaner and a little more refined.
Yep. I think Parnell, I'd be curious to see how much you charge for this film because I think it's very saleable. Like Jason said, they're probably thrilled with it. Like this is really polished, man. For your second wedding film, fantastic. Like your exposures are good. Even here, like drone stuff can sometimes be hard. Like I love this drone shot and I love clear tents. There's so much you can play around with there. Like I have been liking to like zoom in and get like shots through the clear tent.
Even like including a nighttime drone shot of the tent with the lights. That's smart.
Yeah. Because you knew your exposures would be perfect. Like this is a perfect drone exposure right now. Whereas sometimes when the sun is hitting it, it's like can be blown out and weird looking. Like you chose a good time to fly. So
you're
lots of good decisions.
I mean, I'm excited about your wedding filmmaking. I mean, 18 years old, bro. Like it just shows what an incredible field this is and how empowering it is for people, especially young people. I always tell people like this is a great field. And the barrier to entry is actually super low, guys. If you're watching this and you're like, I don't know if I want to get into it, just do it.
Yeah.
Like Purnell, you're inspiring. We appreciate you.
Yeah. Purnell, so he said, what should I be pricing a video like this at? I was thinking around $2K. You should listen to our next episode of the podcast because we actually talk a little bit about that. But I would say, since we got you here, I won't make you hang on the cliff for too long. I would say, probably around 2K. I would say the most important thing is that you have a full schedule. So if you were doing this film at 2K, you would probably get a lot of interest, maybe even less to just fill up your schedule. Do 10 weddings in a year, do 20 weddings in a year, whatever you think you can handle. And then once you are fully booked, that's when you can start raising your prices. It's just purely due to demand, not necessarily
and market, right? I would look around and see what other people in your area are charging, and I would price myself either a little below them or similarly as a starter.
Your skill is going to inform your demand, right?
Yeah, like your top level.
Your demand should inform your pricing.
Yes,
like that's the trajectory you should be looking at, as opposed to just
how good is the film.
Therefore, I should be charging this much, because you might charge someone $5,000 for this type of film eventually. But if you don't have the word of mouth to get yourself out there, you're going to charge $5,000, and the person that could afford you is not even going to, even look at you, because they're going to be like,
the worst thing you want to do when you're starting a business, guys, is throttle your demand.
Yep.
You want to get yourself so that you are in demand, everyone knows you, you have a lot of referrals, and then you worry about price. Don't worry about price right away.
Yep.
Although you don't want to leave money on the table either.
Yep.
So
$2,000, and you're down in the South, so it's a little bit harder. Like Pennsylvania, you're probably looking at like $1,500 to $2,000, and I would say get your demand up, and then
if you're closing less than 20% of your leads, then your price is probably too high.
Yep. I definitely think you could be charging $2,000 for this.
Yeah, definitely. And sooner than later, like as a skill wise, there's no reason you couldn't be charging $5,000 for your films.
Yep.
So
totally.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us today on the live stream. Despite its many flaws, we did our very best to show up and deliver something to you. And so hopefully you had fun watching. Join us in a couple weeks. We got a bunch of videos coming out in the next little while, and we're excited about that. We're working on a new BTS, which I would say it's close to almost done.
Good.
Yes.
That's good.
And then we have a 30 weddings review of the Zion Crane. Yeah, Larev, my favorite live stream ever. Yeah. Thanks, bro.
I'm surprised you're still here, man. Thanks for everyone who held on to the bitter
Listen,
end.
like we're
hope you enjoyed how all these videos sounded today, guys.
I need a producer.
We do need a producer. Julian is in the chat. Julian, maybe you could come and help us out. Julian is one of our very talented filmmaker photographers. But.
Anyway, we have a bunch more content coming out. We're going to be doing, like I said, a 30 Weddings review later of the Weeble 3, which is coming out tomorrow. And it's going to be something we... I can't control the...
Shut up, Lindsay.
Sorry, we can't all be LaRev.
I love it.
Yeah, but seriously, guys, go buy LaRev's lot right on. Oh, you can't now because it's expired. So
oh,
you can't buy this lot. I'm just kidding. But yeah, we got this film coming out, and we're looking to do some stuff a little different because we know wedding filmmakers, you guys put your gear through a lot. So we're going to be trying to, when we do a gear review, and we think it's appropriate, doing a 30 Weddings Later review on how it held up. So if you're interested on how the Weeble 3 held up to a season of wedding shooting, we're going to be dropping that tomorrow. So hopefully you guys check it out on the channel.
Cool.
All right, guys, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for checking out the Wedding Film School live show whenever it was actually showing up and wasn't the worst thing in the world. And thank you so much. And if you liked it and liked how meh it was, hit like, and let's trick the algorithm into making people watch this show.
Let's do that.
Bye.
That was good.